Creative Magic What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I'm here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome. I am very excited to introduce a special guest that I have with me today. I have Sophia Pallas, who is an astrologer, a copywriter, and an online business strategist. She's also the host of the award-winning podcast, Cosmic Business Breakthrough. And after spending 15 years working with big brands and entrepreneurs to improve their copy and marketing plans with mainstream strategies, she flipped the script. And now she uses the ancient wisdom of astrology to help online entrepreneurs dig deep, understand themselves, and crystallize their message for more growth and satisfaction in business. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love I've just been on the hunt for people who are using astrology with business since I got the idea. And
yes,
I just think it's the coolest thing ever. And I'm so excited to hear more about the specific ways that you do it. So before we dive in, how did you come to using astrology in your business?
Yes. Well, I'm one of those people, and maybe you're the same. I was always into astrology as a teenager. I was one of those telling everyone about their star sign and, don't date this guy because he's a Scorpio or whatever, that kind of thing. But I didn't take it very seriously. It was something that was always there and I was interested in it. And, then I grew up and I'm a Capricorn sun sign. So I was, very skeptical about things like that. I kind of changed into this, career focused person, and I was a journalist. So I was really interested in the facts, and astrology didn't really fit into that for me at that time. And I went along, did my things, had my Saturn return, all of those things happened. I was married. And when I was 35, I had an identity crisis. And basically it was the result of a marriage breakdown. So my first marriage ended rather abruptly for me. And I had 2 little kids and I had a business, and I was like, I don't know who I am anymore. Who is this person? I've kind of lost myself along the way. And I'd lost a lot of the things. I couldn't remember what I liked. I couldn't remember all of those things. And so a friend of mine was like, I think you should talk to an astrologer. I've got this great astrologer. She always helps me get clarity. And so I had this grainy Skype call with a shamanic astrologer who was wonderful. And she basically just laid out my life there, in that very grainy 45-minute Skype call. And I was like, how did you know that? How did you know this about me? I didn't even know this about me. Or it was more like I knew those things about me, but I was too scared or shy or closed off to allow them to come through. And so, like most people, the experience most people have with astrology is it's incredibly affirming for what you really want to be doing in life. So I had this call, and that was sort of the day that everything changed, because I wanted to know how she did that. How did she know all of this stuff about me? So I started to go down the astrology rabbit hole and learn all the things and, read everybody that I knew's chart. And it basically went from there. But what I realized not very long into this process was how insightful it would be to have that kind of information for my clients as well. like, because as you know, as a copywriter, we're always trying to pull out their story. We're always trying to pull out, you know, their secret sauce and what makes them do what they do and understand their values and all of that stuff. And that is really clear in the astrology chart. So it was sort of not long into it that I was like, I need to bring this into my business.
I'm so curious, which parts of your clients' charts do you kind of gravitate to first when you're, you know, helping them with their messaging?
I work with Hellenistic astrology, so the more traditional and whole sign houses, if that means anything, but to people listening. So I usually go with the chart ruler. I look at the chart ruler. For me, that's really important to understand. So for instance, I'm a Taurus rising. My chart ruler is Venus. So what is Venus doing in my chart? Venus is in Scorpio. I love to have deep, insightful, transformative conversations with my clients. And that plays out in other ways in my chart as well, because I also have Saturn in Scorpio, which rules my midheaven. So I would also look at the midheaven. But it really depends on to be honest, it depends on the client. I sort of have a bit of a rule of thumb around branding that I will always look at the rising sign, the midheaven, and Venus as the starting point. But if somebody has, for instance, a Mars ruled chart, I can't rule that out. So, it's really hard to kind of just pick one or a couple of things. I try and limit it, but it feels like sometimes it really needs that holistic, like, let's look at all of this stuff because you've got so much going on. Or if someone has like a whole bunch of planets in one sign, then obviously that's where you'd be drawn to. How do you fill me in on what you focus on?
I love this question because I feel like even when it's like, we both do copywriting and astrology, it's like, oh, we're so similar, but like everyone approaches the astrology chart so differently. And that's what I love about it. Because like you can look at it for years and see something new,
Yes.
every time, right?
And I think maybe your process changes over time as well, like what you look at too. But yes, tell me what you do.
Yeah. So for me, I guess because most of my clients are healers and coaches and guiding people through transformation that they've lived. So I found that looking at their Chiron placement is so helpful.
Yes. Love that.
Like their wound, right? And also, a lot of them are working on having confidence and selling and like asking for more money than they've ever asked for before. And so all this money mindset stuff is coming up and all the insecurities always come up. So I feel like having that understanding of your core wounding and the pain and insecurities that everybody has in some type of a different flavor, it just creates a lot of empowerment to be able to there's not just something wrong with me. Like, it's not that I just suck at this. It's like, no, like everyone's going through this in their own way. And how can we, set up some practices and ways for you to understand that and leverage this understanding so that you're more empowered in going after, the money and the sales and the clients and the work that you're really feeling called to do.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Chiron is such an interesting one, isn't it? I love it. Like, I don't always focus on it, but it does tell you a lot about what you say about, especially around what we're here to heal in ourselves and in others. So which it's beautiful.
And, through our work is like there's a reason why we gravitate certain things in our work.
Yes.
So, yeah,
absolutely.
I love that placement. But also Venus, I'm really into.
Venus.
But I haven't heard of using the ruler as a way of kind of like getting a sense for a chart. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. And I know that something else that you do with clients is helping with, timing and planning launches and things like that. So how did you kind of create your process around that for yourself in your own business before you started bringing that work for your clients?
Yeah, well, I guess it always starts with the moon. So how I kind of, in addition to what I was kind of learning about the personality through astrology, I also started following the moon phases. and getting into there was another business astrologer that I knew of, Catherine Hocking, who was already teaching people on launching with the moon. And so I was really interested in how that was playing out. And so I started to get into how does the moon work? What is and watching it. What I was doing is watching it because I was doing a lot of launch copywriting at the time. And I was watching it play out with my clients and seeing how if they launched at a new moon and closed card on a full moon, how that impacted them and vice versa. And also looking at their own natal moon phase, because that can also be a contributor to when they're feeling most fertile and most, visible and all of that stuff. So it was really more of a kind of data gathering kind of situation where I was watching these launches and I was seeing how I could optimize them by changing the timing according to the moon phase. And then I started to look into what are some other things that we can do to make this launch work better? How can we give it the best? And I don't do specific like electional astrology. Like we don't pick always. Electional astrology is where you pick an exact date and time to start something and infuse the energy of that into the creation, which I love. I love that. And I do pick dates. But when I'm thinking about a launch, I'm more thinking about how is the client's energy impacted or my energy if I'm thinking about my own stuff. Like, is there a great Jupiter aspect happening when I'm doing this thing? Or is my midheaven being activated right now? Like those are the things that I'll be looking for myself and for a client. So for instance, working with the moon, for me, my midheaven's in Aquarius. So I love to do things when the moon is in Aquarius because I know that I'm getting some extra boost to my visibility, some extra boost to my public reputation then. And the same goes for the clients. I do love a closed card at a full moon. I think it does really work. Like if you are building the energy, because we are so affected by the moon. We don't even realize, obviously if we're astrologers, we know that we're affected by all the planets, but the moon affects our physical body so much. It affects the tides, it affects the water content on the planet. So why would it not affect our physical bodies when we're mostly water? So I think working with that kind of climactic energy of a full moon is a beautiful way to kind of get people on board to what you're doing. So those are kind of a few of the different ways that it works. I do really, I love watching the moon, but I also love to look at what are the great aspects that are happening in the client's chart or in my chart. And how can I work with that energy? Venus aspects, Jupiter aspects, even Saturn aspects, because Saturn is that planet of structure and boundary and also setting down things for the long term in our business. So if you are running a program around giving structure to something in your business, or, you're helping people through a quite structured process, using Saturn can be really beneficial as well.
I'm interrupting this broadcast with a special announcement. Are you wondering which parts of your story to focus on in your content to attract ready-to-buy soulmate clients? Do you wish you had clear sales page copy for your high-ticket offer with a stash of social media posts that lead to easy sales that fill your offer on repeat month after month? Do you wish it felt so easy and natural to talk about how you help people when you get interested clients popping up in your inbox? I can help you. In a 90-minute private coaching intensive together, we'll focus on the most important changes you can start making in your messaging to attract more paying clients into your offers. During our time together, we'll make sure your offer is actually targeted at the kinds of clients you really want to be working with. We'll tighten up your messaging or write it from scratch if we need to, and we'll map out a feel-good launch plan to start filling it up with amazing clients. You'll come away with powerful copy targeted at the kinds of clients who are truly ready to buy your offer and do the work, with a clear step-by-step action plan to start connecting with the right kinds of clients tailored to your strengths and audience. No cookie cutter approaches here.
plus clarity on your own story and which parts to share to attract the right people, with a list of content topics and a few solid pieces of sales content that you can start sharing to make sales right away. Clients who have done my intensive have gone on to get 20 applications within 48 hours of hitting publish on their new sales page, tripled their workshop signups, designed and launched new exciting offers, raised their offer price above 5 figures, and signed new dreamy clients into their high ticket offer within days. To chat about how we can use our time together to start welcoming more amazing clients into your world, message me the word intensive either over on Instagram at Creative Magic Club or to my email sarah@withsarahmac.com. So if you're like me and you have ADHD with 5,000 creative projects you want to be working on at all times, and maybe even some ongoing chronic health stuff happening, you know there's nothing more frustrating than sitting down to do that work you said you were going to do today and feeling so tired or brain foggy or unable to focus on one thing long enough to get in flow and get it done. It feels so frustrating when this happens, especially if you're like me and you try to keep caffeine consumption to an absolute minimum because it makes me anxious and unfocused, and I know that it wrecks our sleep. So I started using Magic Mind, which is a super cool and really yummy productivity shot containing organic matcha with a blend of some of the most potent mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics that supercharge your focus and motivation when you're having a mental slump and you really want to be feeling creative and getting your best work done. When I discovered Magic Mind, I was like, yes, please. They are so perfect for the morning or that after lunch slump when you want to be slaying your projects, but your brain isn't cooperating. I definitely noticed the boost. They help me get focused and way more done. And most importantly, enjoy writing and creating in a state of flow without the struggle of feeling tired, foggy, or distracted. So you are in for a treat because with my code, you can get up to 56% off your first subscription or 20% off your one-time purchase if you go to my link, magicmind.com/CMC with discount code CMC20. Grab the 30 pack for best value, and there's no risk because if you don't like it, they'll give you a refund. These Magic Mind shots are popping up everywhere in LA. People are loving them, and I know you will too. So remember, go to my link, magicmind.com/CMC with discount code CMC20. I'll pop that link in the show notes for you as well.
So I'm curious, when you were observing the cart, beginning the launch on the new moon and closing the cart on the full moon, you saw that people seem to have better results around that.
I noticed that there was and I mean, look, I didn't do an empirical study on it, but my own observation was that it was more likely to feel like a satisfying and successful launch. And if people were closing cart around that full moon, because there's this natural sense of completion for people, like people are actually not only, if they've been following along your launch that whole time and they're interested, it's like the full moon can give them a trigger to start. Interestingly, you can also feel pulled to start something if you're going to start it at the new moon. Like if you feel it, there's something kicking off at the new moon, there's a beautiful energy of that too. Like I joined a program recently where I was like, but this is because I have some astrology knowledge too. I was like, it's starting on the new moon. I really want to be in on that because this is going to ground my intentions down. So when I was joining the program, I was aware that, it really appealed to me because the actual kickoff was around the new moon. So ideally, if you can close cart around the full moon and just after, using that kind of cleaning up energy of the full moon and then start the program around the new moon, I think that's a beautiful kind of, it's a beautiful energy to infuse your program or product with.
Yeah, I love that. And it was like one of the biggest draws for me in using astrology to start to structure my business. I don't know if are you into human design at all?
I am. I do know a little bit about it, but I'm not super
Do you know
knowledgeable
what
on human design.
your energy type is?
Yeah, I'm a generator.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm a manifesting generator, and a lot of my clients are. And we like really struggle with the like 50,000 projects all the time, and like, wanting to do everything all at once, and then
Yeah.
ADD brain, like getting overwhelmed and having
Yes.
periods of like not being able to follow through. And so I love how astrology gives me, it's like an inspiring deadline. It's like
Yes.
the planets are moving when the planets are moving. There's nothing you can do to change that. So if you're going to structure things around the new moon and the full moon, like you can't, there's no wiggle room on that day. If you've said like, this is going to be a full moon thing, this is going to be a new moon thing. And, the seasons change when the seasons change. And
That's right.
I'm doing like an astrology series on my podcast where every season I create content prompts and money alignment prompts. I'm like, oh, it gives me a lot of creative peace to know that content is needed for the rest of the year.
That's it.
Yeah, it's been really supportive for me to make like long-term strategic decisions in my business. And it's kind of a new thing for me bringing astrology in my offers, even though I've been doing it behind the scenes with my clients for a while. And it's something that I really want to bring into to my next mastermind, is using cycles for manifestation. And I have on and off used the moon cycles for manifestations like really intentionally and closely. And anytime I have, like, the results have been insane. It's like it's undeniable how much energy and power and flow and creativity we have access to when we use those like astrological marks. So I'm curious, like, what's your process for using the astrology for your like offer creation and like making decisions strategically in your business, like beyond launches and your programs and the way that you work with clients and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I guess I think about it in a couple of ways. Like I look at the transits that are happening across the year, like the big transits. Like for instance, right now, like I think literally today, right now, Jupiter has just moved into Gemini as we're recording this episode. We've just gone into Gemini season and Jupiter's just moved into Gemini, and that's a big shift. So I think about that kind of energy first and I go, okay, well, what's going on in where does that fall in my chart, or where does that fall in the client's chart? And what, for instance, I wanted to make the most of Jupiter in Taurus, for the clients, for myself, because I'm a Taurus rising as well. How can I amplify this? What can I do that's related to, for instance, my first house, my house of, personality, persona, personal brand? What can I do with that energy? So for me personally, I've been working on my YouTube strategy a lot, because that's obviously using my personal brand very much, and developing my voice, developing my presentation style, all of that stuff has been how I've been using that Jupiter in Taurus energy. And so the same applies for the clients. Like, how can they use that juicy Jupiter energy wherever it falls in their chart? So we obviously look at, for instance, I have a client who is an Aries rising, so Jupiter falls in her second house of money and resources. So we've been really developing her key or her signature offer in this time that over the past 6 months that we've been working together while Jupiter's been in Taurus. We've been really developing how she's making money from that offer and optimizing it and all of that stuff. So I guess I look at those things. I also love using Mercury retrograde as a great time for revision of stuff I've already got, and also ideation around what do I want to bring next. It's not the time where I'm creating the thing. It's more the time where I'm reflecting on what I've been doing. And I say the same thing to my clients. Don't launch something brand new in Mercury retrograde. You can launch for sure. Launch something you've done before, because it's going to help you to optimize it. It's going to help you to refine it and progress it. And especially when it comes to the content that you're using, maybe you're rewriting a sales page in Mercury retrograde, Although don't be surprised if you rewrite the sales page and then you want to rewrite it again when you get out of Mercury retrograde. But there's going to be something valuable that comes out of that time, regardless, some revision that comes out of that time. What else? Also, obviously, like juicy things like, when Venus is in its top position, how can you work with that? Where is Venus hanging out in your chart? How can you, especially clients who are launching things that are related to Venus, are related to beauty, relationships, or branding, photography, that kind of thing. Like, how can you work with that energy? And really kind of access that Venus energy in your business in more powerful ways. And as I said earlier, I love a midheaven activation as well. Like, what's happening there? How can we use that? When is that throughout the year getting activated? And how can we kind of make the most of that energy as well?
What are some of the things that you consider as activations? Like transits, do you also look at, like trines and sextiles and oppositions and stuff like that as well?
Yeah. So for instance, like, I'll just use another client example. So my client with Aries rising, Capricorn is her midheaven. So when we had Mars in Capricorn, Mars is a really powerful in Capricorn. It's its favorite place to be. So when Mars was in Capricorn, I knew that there was all this juicy, powerful activating energy, and energizing her 10th house and her midheaven, her house of public reputation and career. So that was when we were kind of pushing out, like doing the Capricorn things, setting things up, because Capricorn loves structure, and really pushing through those tasks that feel a little bit harder in other times of the year. Like, you can really go, okay, I can get more stuff done with that particular energy. So that's a conjunction, I suppose. That's like, okay, Mars is there, but absolutely trines from Jupiter, from Venus, from Saturn, that can all be useful. If it's a Mars trine Jupiter, that's also like really energizing. So all of that sort of stuff. I also look at progressions. So that would be secondary progression. So if you've got a client, for instance, who is having a really great progressed, like the progressed sun is on their midheaven, or the progressed sun is on their Venus, or something like that will also give them a lot of energy for their brand and for their work. If it's on their midheaven, for instance, it will amplify their work in the world. If it's on their Venus, it could amplify their personal brand. So I'd look at that. When it's progressions, though, it's more looking at conjunctions. So when it's like the planets are together, as opposed to, when I'm looking at the transits, I'm looking at the helpful aspects like trines and sextiles, and understanding when the squares and the oppositions are happening too, because sometimes those more challenging aspects can also be really helpful to get us to move through some friction in our business as well. So if we're I went through 2022, for me, I was squared to the max. Like, I'm a Taurus rising, and Aquarius midheaven. So we had Saturn in Aquarius right on my midheaven. It was squaring all of the angles in my chart. It was really intense, but I got so much done and I made so much structural change in my business. So I appreciate that stuff too.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all of these juicy nuggets with us. So I know you have a special offer that you want to share with everyone. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, I love to look at planning out the year and how we can tap into that energy to help us in business. So I have a Cosmic Business Breakthrough Plan, which is an overview of all the major transits for the year and how to personalize it for your rising sign. So that's available. And if you use the coupon code MAGIC, you get 50% off for being an amazing listener of your show. And basically, yes, it helps you to plan out the rest of your year. And it also will give you some other really cool astro techniques like annual perfections, which helps you to understand what year you are currently in, what the energy of your year, like your birthday year is, and how that can help you theme the activities that you do in your business as well.
What a cool resource. I can't wait to check that one out. And so thank you so much for coming and for sharing everything with us. So where can people find you if they want to learn more about your work?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram at Sophia Pallas. You can find me on YouTube, which is where I'm hanging out a lot at the moment. Also, the channel is at Sophia Pallas. And those are the main places. Obviously, I've got my website too. So I will hopefully, you've got the link for people to check that out. Also, it's just sophiapallas.com, and that's Pallas as in Pallas, not the palace, not like the building, which sometimes gets picked up by the subtitles. So
I'll make sure
just clarify
transcripts so that they spell your name.
Good.
Thank you
good.
So much. Yeah, thank you everybody.
Thank you.
And yeah, please share this episode with anyone that you know who might love it. And we will see you next week for more astrology and money and business and sales fun times. So thanks. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com, and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'm interrupting this broadcast with a special announcement. Are you wondering which parts of your story to focus on in your content to attract ready-to-buy soulmate clients? Do you wish you had clear sales page copy for your high-ticket offer with a stash of social media posts that lead to easy sales that fill your offer on repeat month after month? Do you wish it felt so easy and natural to talk about how you help people when you get interested clients popping up in your inbox? I can help you. In a 90-minute private coaching intensive together, we'll focus on the most important changes you can start making in your messaging to attract more paying clients into your offers. During our time together, we'll make sure your offer is actually targeted at the kinds of clients you really want to be working with. We'll tighten up your messaging or write it from scratch if we need to, and we'll map out a feel-good launch plan to start filling it up with amazing clients. You'll come away with powerful copy targeted at the kinds of clients who are truly ready to buy your offer and do the work, with a clear step-by-step action plan to start connecting with the right kinds of clients tailored to your strengths and audience. No cookie-cutter approaches here. Plus, clarity on your own story and which parts to share to attract the right people, with a list of content topics and a few solid pieces of sales content that you can start sharing to make sales right away. Clients who have done my intensive have gone on to get 20 applications within 48 hours of hitting publish on their new sales page, tripled their workshop signups, designed and launched new exciting offers, raised their offer price above 5 figures, and signed new dreamy clients into their high-ticket offer within days. To chat about how we can use our time together to start welcoming more amazing clients into your world, message me the word intensive either over on Instagram at Creative Magic Club or to my email sarah@withsarahmac.com.